This is United Network News with Sunny Galt, Calen, Kimberly Gogan, and our field messengers from around the world. Here's today's real news.
The East Coast and Gulf Coast dock workers' strike has ended after reaching a tentative agreement on wages. Thousands of dock workers are returning to work, concluding one of the most significant work stoppages in decades. The strike, which began early Tuesday, affected ports from Maine to Texas, causing potential concerns about supply chains and a possible rise in consumer prices during the holiday season. The United States Maritime Alliance, or USMX, and the International Longshoremen's Association, or ILA, have agreed to extend their current labor contract through January 15th, ensuring port operations resume immediately. The ILA has emphasized global cargo carriers have seen substantial increases in profits since the pandemic disruptions, and workers should have a fair share of those gains. The agreement will boost wages by 62% across 6 years, raising top dock workers' pay to $63 per hour, up from an average of $39. For now, this addresses wage concerns and tables the rest of ILA workers' concerns, such as automation, until January 15th, 2025.
Every day, millions of women around the world use hygiene products to feel fresh and confident. From deodorants and lotions to sanitary items, these products are essential to our daily routines. But there's a hidden danger. Many of these products contain chemicals that may not be so friendly to our bodies in the long run. It's important to be aware of these risks so we can make smart choices about what we're putting on and into our bodies. You might expect clear ingredient and safety info on the packaging of these popular feminine hygiene products, but with no regulatory oversight, manufacturers don't have to tell you all the ingredients in their products.
To my knowledge, at this point in time, there's no requirement to put the ingredients on the packaging of period products. You do need to have a contact phone number and address. That is mandatory. But in terms of ingredients, it's a little bit lax, in my opinion. Although you find most period products will list their ingredients. Now, whether anybody looks at the ingredients is another matter. For example, when it comes to ingredients, have a look at this. This is on a pads packet. I don't think I can pronounce it. A couple of alarming ingredients in these lists to look out for. Titanium dioxide. That is banned in European countries, yet in the US, it's in a lot of period products. You also have what I would say aluminum in a lot of these products. You have chlorine. You have a whole lot of polymers and polyethers, which is plastics. So there are a lot of things in the ingredients lists.
The simple cotton you think is in your tampons and pads might hide dioxins from bleaching, pesticide residues, PFAs or forever chemicals, parabens, phthalates, and mysterious synthetic fragrances. These substances can interfere with the body's endocrine system, which regulates sexual development, metabolism, blood sugar, mood, and sleep.
There was a big trend toward that, and you still see plenty of products on the shelves. And that's, of course, very alarming when it comes to tampons. Tampons go inside your body. I mean, pads also go on your body, both in very sensitive areas. So any chemical that you have on a tampon or a pad goes straight into your bloodstream, and it impacts the endocrine system kind of instantly. So we've seen a massive increase in irritation, in infertility. And a lot of people are going to an extreme reaction to that rather than saying, wait a second, what is in my tampon? What is in my pad? Can I switch to a truly organic, toxin-free brand and see how that impacts my health?
While officials like the FDA deem dioxin levels in tampons safe, even minimal exposure can be alarming given links to cancer and hormone disruption. Pesticides used in non-organic cotton farming present another problem. Known for their ties to infertility and neurological issues. As if that weren't enough, all of these chemicals and undisclosed fragrant ingredients have been linked to serious health issues, including breast cancer, reproductive problems, asthma, and allergies. Especially concerning are the hormone-disrupting chemicals found in these products, as vaginal tissue absorbs substances more easily than other skin. An interesting 2024 study in Environmental International Scientific Journal took a closer look at 16 tampon brands from the US and UK, checking for heavy metals like arsenic, lead, and mercury. Surprisingly, every tampon had some level of contamination. Organic tampons had more arsenic, while non-organic ones had higher lead levels.
So right now, there are so many people talking about the issue of toxins and metals in tampons and also in pads, and that's due mainly to a UC Berkeley report that came out a few months ago, highlighting that nearly all of the products on our shelves, and ones that claim to be organic included, have metals and toxins in them. And so, of course, everyone has just been so horrified, as they should be, as I was originally, that these things exist, because we trust what's on our shelves. I do. Mm-hmm. You go into your pharmacy or your mart or your supermarket and you're like, oh, here's a bag of tampons. Great. They've made it through all these checks and balances. They must be safe. And we're finding out now that they're not. So much so that the FDA launched an investigation last week into tampons and pads and why this has been allowed to happen. So that should be really interesting.
Unfortunately, the study didn't mention specific brand names, which leaves us wondering about overall product safety. While organic products are generally preferred for being chemical-free, it turns out they aren't always metal-free either.
The hardest thing, I think, to discern when you're shopping is reading through the organic and greenwashing. And this is across all products. You know, there's no regulation in the period space right now on what you put on the label. So someone can say organic or organically grown, but check your ingredients list. And then if they're claiming organic cotton, there should be a certification on the box, on the bag, or on the website. And if there is no certification, I would personally think twice. To get an organic certification is really difficult. So if anyone is claiming to be organic, they will have those certifications all over their website, on their packaging. You know, I kind of put it in the same class of being a doctor. You work all those years to become a doctor. You put the sign up, right? So it's the same with certifications. If someone truly is organic, they will have that certification.
How do you choose the safest option? It's all about being informed and mindful of your personal needs and preferences. Start by checking the ingredients list to make sure the products you're considering are free from harmful chemicals. Go for products made with organic or all-natural materials, as these are less likely to contain pesticides and synthetic components. Also, think about the method of use. Some people love the convenience of tampons, while others feel more comfortable with pads or menstrual cups. You can always try different options to find what feels best for you. Whatever you do, trust your body. Your comfort and health should always come first when picking feminine hygiene products.
It appears the global oil cartels are using the ongoing conflict in the Middle East to hike up the market price of oil. Bank of England Governor Andrew Bailey warned on Thursday that the conflict between Iran and Israel is raising concerns about a potential increase in fuel prices and a possible energy crisis reminiscent of the 1970s. That is a very strong statement to make. Back then, by 1979, the crisis hit home for many Americans. Waiting in line for gasoline for up to 2 or even 3 hours was common, only to find out the station had run out. The energy crisis also created artificial hyperinflation of airline tickets, food prices, and more. Let's take a look back at some news reports from 1979.
Regardless of who is profiting, we're all going to pay because this country runs primarily on oil. And Jay Backus joins us now live with an analysis. Jay, where are you?
At a downtown Ohio, Bill, where as you can see the price of unleaded tonight is $73.9. That's high enough for any of us who can remember when premium was $27.9. But $73.9 is not as high as it's going to go. Today's OPEC increases are expected to drive the price of unleaded up to a national average of 77 cents per gallon. Now, all modes of transportation are affected by the increased prices. All modes of transportation includes planes, ground transportation, anything you can think of. Higher costs for transportation will in turn have a ripple effect throughout the economy, driving prices up in general. Case in point, the airlines are expected to increase their fares next month with actually a fuel surcharge. Case in point, the very food we eat comes to us in part by truck. Trucks burn diesel fuel. Government economists are saying tonight that the OPEC increases today can be expected to add a full percentage point to the cost of living this year. Bill?
Okay, Jay, thank you very much.
Finding gasoline to give them the automobile freedom they take as their due. Gasoline shortages are spreading across the country. Odd even service, gasoline lines, and closed gas stations are becoming increasingly common. And the news from overseas tonight gives no promise of quick relief. President Carter and other Western leaders agreed in Tokyo to limit oil imports to try to reduce dependence on OPEC, the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries. In Geneva yesterday, OPEC slapped another large increase on crude oil prices, an increase the Tokyo summit leaders deplored. In response, President Carter pledged the United States to limit oil imports to 8.5 million barrels a day until 1985. So far this year, imports have been running at 8.2 million barrels a day. So with little hope of greatly increased supplies and much higher prices for what supplies there are, pressure is building again in Washington for a new look at gas rationing. There are reports that President Carter will urge Congress to reconsider the rationing plan they rejected this spring. Tonight, is gas rationing the answer? But first, for those of you who've been spared the experience so far, we want to share the emotions Americans are feeling on the gas lines. Late last week, independent producer Phil Garvin spent a day on a line at a service station in Queens, New York. And this is what happened. As has become common in many states in the East, cars have been lining up before dawn. By the time the pumps opened, many had been waiting 2 and 3 hours for gas.
I've been here since 4:30 this morning. It's ridiculous waiting online here. I couldn't get gas Tuesday. The line was about 8 blocks long. It was ridiculous. It was unbelievable waiting online. I can't take it anymore. I've been carpooling. It's my turn to get gas, and thank God I'm able to get gas today. I don't care how much it costs. I just got to get gas. Got to get to work.
People are very desperate. They depend an awful lot upon their cars, and it seems to be no limit to how far they'll go to keep driving that car.
I thought my husband would be able to get gas. He came here at 20 after 5, and he called me at 6 that I should come out and take over because he's got to go to work.
At that time, I was a little girl, but I still remember a very hot summer day waiting in line with my grandparents for hours to fill up our gas tank. Lucky for me, the more than 3-hour wait ended with an ice cream treat. But for my grandparents, it ended up with a full tank of gas that cost them double what they paid just a year prior. Eventually, fuel rationing regulations came into play. The government decided to allow for even-numbered license plates to fill up on some days, while odd-numbered license plates could fill up on others. Gas station owners became the license plate police. Not only that, the station owners were also supposed to turn away anyone with more than half a tank of gas. The regulations were intended to shorten lines and decrease the risk of gas stations running out of fuel. But did it work?
This is unreal. Isn't this disgusting? Why doesn't anybody contact the president? Why is he letting this happen to us?
To sum up in the word of one irate motorist, the first day of the odd-even system was a disaster. Gas lines at many stations were a lot longer than normal.
The line today is longer than it's ever been. I have no explanation for it.
This gas line at one station on the Upper West Side ran from 96th Street and West End Avenue all the way up to 102nd Street. As might be expected, the longer the line and waiting time, the angrier some motorists became.
I think it's terrible. I really think it's terrible. I'm in here for an hour already.
There's no shortage. I don't believe there's a shortage.
The odd-even system can't do anything about the problem of no gas. Some of the people online here have been in other lines and still don't have a tank of gas.
This is the second gas line this morning.
What happened at the first?
They ran out.
I've been in 2 gas lines already.
This morning?
This morning.
How long did you wait for the first one?
I've been in both lines over an hour, and I'm out of gas. Dead out.
Most service station operators were not following the new regulations to the letter. Drivers with more than a half a tank of gas should have been turned away, but no one was checking.
I don't intend doing that. It's too risky.
This morning we're a little short on help, so we are not checking gauges. But from what the purchases have been, there really is no need because they're all getting large sales.
What are we trying to do?
Well, my son is trying to see how much gas we have left in the tank and whether we can make it out on the Sawmill River Parkway. So he stuck his walkie-talkie antenna in the tank, which I do not see we're going to get out.
Well, all you motorists with odd number plates, tomorrow, it's your turn. I'm Frank Casey, Action News.
Back to today, the mere threat of an expanded conflict in the Middle East has already sent oil prices skyrocketing by as much as 3%. Since oil has become the lifeblood of the economy, these increases could impact the cost of living worldwide, as everyday expenses would also rise. The cost of food, airline tickets, shipping, and all consumer goods could be impacted fairly quickly should artificial hyperinflation increase. Yes, I said artificial. Over the past month, the price of Brent crude is up to over $75 per barrel, while Texas crude rose to $71. Wait a minute, how did the price of Texas crude go up due to a Middle Eastern crisis? In short, it should not have. This is where the artificial hyperinflation comes in. Let's take a look. According to this chart produced by the U.S. Energy Information Administration of the top 3 oil-producing nations in the world, in 2023, the U.S. produced around 13.3 million barrels of oil per day versus its closest competitor, Russia, which only produced around 10 million barrels per day. Of the world's annual global crude production, as recorded in 2023, the areas of current conflict produced around 21 million barrels of oil per day, while all other areas of the world produced over 58 million barrels per day. Given the world's consumption rate, is there a shortage? No. Should we technically see rising prices due to a Middle Eastern conflict? No. The conflicts arising in the Middle East is basically for media purposes, although if you live there, the conflict is very real. Various rebel groups are encouraged to attack oil rigs, such as this British oil tanker, which was allegedly attacked by the Houthi rebel group in Yemen. Our inside sources have also reported that other rebel groups, such as the PMF in Iraq, are being encouraged to attack ports throughout the Middle East in efforts to halt all oil exports from Middle Eastern nations. Our sources also report that Halliburton, run by Dick Cheney, built most of those ports. They also report that nearly every port built by the large corporation was rigged to remotely explode at the time the port was erected. Further, every oil well drilled by the same corporation also contains remote-controlled explosives, and the wells in the Middle East are no exception. There is also a lot of corruption within the oil industry, such as the number of barrels being produced are reduced by as much as 25%. This is created by horizontal oil siphons also installed by Halliburton, not filling the barrels all the way, and sanctioned nations which are excluded from the production numbers. However, due to changes within AI systems, the CIA access to remote controls was removed. So apparently now it is necessary to involve various rebel groups they also control. Bottom line, the game is rigged. The world's largest fuel station owners pay the same prices regardless of any conflict, and the market price increases are only affecting the people. There is no actual shortage. There is no reason for the price of American-produced crude to go up. There is no actual reason to hyperinflate the cost of goods in the U.S. or anywhere else in the world. Bottom line, oil cartels are creating fictitious supply shortages. As for Andrew Bailey in the Bank of England's comments of a potential 1970s-like energy crisis, that says it all, folks. This is what the cartel is about to try and create. And by putting this information out, we hope to end artificial inflation once and for all.
Managing money can often feel overwhelming, especially with bills, debts, saving goals, and daily expenses pulling you in different directions. But simplifying your finances is possible and can bring a sense of control, freedom, and peace of mind. The process of simplifying your finances looks a little bit different for everyone, but today we're going to talk about something you probably haven't considered before. Okay, so Corey is joining us, and Corey, I would love to talk with you about how you were able to simplify your financial life. Because when we think about this, when we think about our finances, we may think of, oh, I need to use a different app, or, I need to do things that way. But really, you've taken a completely different approach to simplifying your finances, and it might be something other people out there want to try. So what did you do, Corey?
Well, it kind of hit me when I realized that I had way too many student loans. I was financing things that I really shouldn't have. And I came up with certain rules that have benefited me, my wife, and our family just by simplifying everything in terms of not having as much stuff to begin with. There's a couple of things we did. First of all, we don't take out any loans on anything with an engine in it, which I know is really hard for people to do, but it is possible. Wow. We also, one thing I do each month that I think is very common sense that a lot of people are not doing is before I get paid, like let's say I get paid on the 9th, on the 8th I go to the bank and I take out all my money in my checking because I know I'm getting paid the next day. And that's a really good tip that I kind of just came up with on my own, and then that money gets rolled over into savings for a rainy day fund or saving up for something else. Another thing we do to simplify our finances is we ask ourselves, do we use it? Honestly, I think we look at it and we're tied to things with emotions and we say, oh, maybe someday or my kids could use this. And the answer is if we don't have a definite need for it that day or certainly within the next couple of weeks, we get rid of it. We'd rather give it to somebody else who can benefit from it. And then the other thing is we try to get out of debt as soon as possible because obviously debt, we're slaves to the lender and we feel that. It's tight, it's uncomfortable, it allows us to have less freedom. And we're not hoarders at all, but if there's one thing we do hoard, it is freedom. And we're restricted by that financial burden that has really, really hurt us. And it stops people from getting into homesteading because they think that there's a big cost, and there isn't really a big cost. I think the big cost is the fact that you have 2 cars in your driveway, 3 student loans you're still paying on, and all of these other things. And in our country today, that is really something that a lot of people are struggling with, just like we did years ago. And we're not out of the woods yet, but we're so much better off than we were even 2 or 3 years ago by doing simple things like not financing toys unless it's an emergency, only having loans on stuff we absolutely positively need under the right circumstances.
Yeah. So for you, how did getting into homesteading, was that kind of the catalyst that helped you reorganize your finances, or did it happen at the same time? Did you kind of have that epiphany before homesteading, or what was the timing for all of that for you?
I would say it happened around the same time, because if I'm going to simplify my life by the way I eat, by the way I raise my food, by the way we spend time, free time, like we would rather sit around a fire than go to Disney World, for example. That's our fun. That's our vacation. So if we're simplifying our life, why wouldn't we simplify all aspects of our life? Because the more simplified we live, the happier we are, the more joy we have, the more time we have together as a family, as a community. And I thought, well, why don't we simplify every aspect of our life, not just our lifestyle, but also our finances that tie into our lifestyle. So it kind of happened at the same time as starting homesteading.
Yeah. And then what were some of those first steps that you took to start homesteading? Because there may be people that are watching this going, I think that might work for me, but I don't even know where to start. What would you recommend for them?
to realize that homesteading is scalable. And it is not about watching successful people with millions of subscribers on YouTube and seeing everything that they have. And so if I were to start a homestead like today, I would start with poultry, meat rabbits, and like 2 or 3 raised bed gardens and get really good at raising whatever you put in there. If you just have peppers, for example, in a 4x8 raised bed, be the best pepper gardener you can possibly be. Like, be really good at growing just peppers, as an example. And then if you can manage that, then you scale up to 5 or 6 raised beds. And you'll be shocked, because if you have that scalable mindset, in 5 years, you're going to have a really, really good system that is not only successful as a unit, but each individual unit as itself, because you took the time to be really good at 1 or 2 things from the beginning. So poultry is big for me, starting with small things, maybe meat rabbits. That's not super popular, but it's really, really easy to do. That's actually how we started, to be honest. We started with meat rabbits and transferred into other things. So really small, manageable things that don't cost a lot of money to begin with.
Yeah.
And they're not going to stress you out. Your cow gets out, and you're the first-time homesteader, you're chasing a cow down the road. That's stressful. That's difficult. That's not fun for anybody. You can't manage a cow that weighs 1,000 pounds. If a rabbit gets out, you go out and get a net and you pick it up and put it back. It's not a big deal. So managing things in a small scale to start with the first year, and being very good at just 1 or 2 things to build your confidence to go forward. If you can't handle that, homesteading might not be for you, or you just need to take some time off and regroup and kind of come up with a different plan. But that's a way to test the waters without a really high financial sacrifice. It's very cheap to get into homesteading if you start that way.
Yeah, when you were mentioning the cow getting out, I'm like, that's worse than trying to balance your checkbook, honestly.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
All right, thanks, Corey.
You're welcome.
Simplifying your finances is really more about simplifying your life. To learn more about how Corey and his family have saved money while increasing the quality of their life, check out their YouTube channel, Together We Harvest.
An underground glacier in Romania offers important information into historical climate patterns and ecological evolution, making it a key site for the scientific research. UNN Field Messenger Monica explores this natural wonder.
Hi, Monica here, Field Messenger for UNN, reporting from Romania. In the heart of the Apuseni Mountains, there is a place of extraordinary beauty, where one of the largest glaciers in the world, in terms of ice volume, is located, the Scrișoara Glacier. The glacier is not above ground, but underground. You have to descend about 50 meters down a narrow path and some metal stairs to reach the bottom of the shaft, where you enter through a 20-meter high portal into the great hall of the cave. The floor of the great hall is the upper face of the ice giant, which lies beneath the ground. In addition to this tourable area, under the Great Hall there are 2 other sectors that can only be explored by specialists. The huge block of ice has stored complex scientific data about plants, animals, the composition of the atmosphere thousands of years ago, and the evolution of the Earth's climate. The cave has the shape of a descending hollow, closed at the bottom. This hollow acts as a trap for cold air. A process of ice accumulation also takes place through the infiltration of surface water, which, in contact with the cold air in the cave, freezes and forms successive layers of ice. Thank you for listening. Bye.
The idea of eating insects as a sustainable food source has gained significant attention recently, with some people praising its environmental and nutritional benefits. It might seem like a forward-thinking solution to global food challenges, But there's a lot of risks that very few people are talking about. And that really bugs us. It started with celebrities, seemingly out of the blue. They started making these strange videos showing us how much they love to eat bugs.
I'm Nicole Kidman, and I am going to eat a 4-course meal of bugs. I am here to reveal my hidden talent, eating micro livestock, cornworms. They're still alive. Extraordinary. Very moist, chewy. Can't quite describe the flavor, but need a little water. Let's try the second course, shall we? Just a little side note. 2 billion people in the world eat bugs, and I'm one of them. Because here we go. Have some mealworms. I'm telling you, I'd win Survivor. That is a fruity taste. I'd recommend it. Here we have. Oh, crickets. Oh, nothing. Oh. And now for dessert. The fried grasshopper. These are amazing. These are exquisite grasshoppers. I recommend them to anyone.
They promoted everything. Big bugs, slimy bugs, fried bugs, spicy bugs, even bugs ground up into a fine powder so you can't tell it's a bug. Their mission? To get you past the ick factor. Forget what you think you know about bugs and follow the leader.
Well, yeah, I'm not really looking forward to this, but the only way to face your fears is to go out and do it. So I bought some dry roasted crickets online, waited for them to arrive, served them up for dinner, and got ready to try. All right, let's try it. It's not as bad as I thought it would be, but it's still not great. I need some water.
1, 2, 3.
What it's like eating a bug in Thailand.
Run. I see a tear.
Creating YouTube videos is one thing, but surely the general public wouldn't fall for this, would they? A collaborative study from multiple universities, including Oxford, found otherwise. They created 66 fictitious ads for insect-based products, a cricket bar and a mealworm burger, with 64 featuring endorsements from celebrities. Only 2 weren't endorsed. And guess what? It worked. Suddenly, people had a craving for bugs. For men, ads with actors and athletes were most effective in encouraging an insect-based diet. Women preferred ads with actors. Okay, let's say you got past the ick factor. Is there any nutritional benefit to eating bugs? They're supposed to be loaded with protein, right?
If we take 100 grams of these bugs, in this 100 grams, we have about 12 grams of actual protein. And there's about 5 grams of fat, 5 grams of carbs, a little iron, a little tiny bit of fat. But is 12 grams enough for our bodies? Actually, no. If we do the math and look at the actual number of crickets that we're going to have to eat to get close to this protein, we're going to have to 4x that. That's a nice big bucket of crickets. But for a lot of people, they're going to need to 8 times that figure every single day to get their protein amount. I guess we can mash them up and put them into pizzas, and with all these other different flavorings, we can put them in burgers, sweeten them, and that might be a solution. But what about the cost? It's going to be quite expensive, right? But they can bring the cost down by feeding the crickets, cheaper materials like maybe corn, soy, beet sugar, something like that. The problem with that is the nutrition comes down, and then the protein level comes down, and that's one little issue. Quite expensive to have healthy insects to eat, okay?
So you'd have to eat a lot of bugs to get enough protein. Got it. But they make some really good-looking food with bugs, so it can't be all that bad, right? I mean, people in other countries have been eating bugs for a long time.
Several studies have shown that farmed insects can carry a very high load of pathogens and parasites. This one study showed that 80% of sampled insects contain pathogens, 30% of which were human-specific pathogens, things like Vibrio, Streptococcus, Pseudomonas, and even E. coli. Insects have been shown to contain, in some instances, high levels of heavy metals. One of those is cadmium, which can cause kidney disease, fragile bones, and even cancer. Another is arsenic, which can cause diabetes, cancer, skin disorders, and even cognitive developmental problems in children. Lead, which may lead to anemia, weakness, kidney and brain damage. Mercury, the chronic exposure of which can lead to liver, kidney, immune system, and nervous system damage. Bugs can also contain high levels of anti-nutrients, including things like tannins, which can cause stomach irritation, nausea, vomiting, and even liver damage. Hydrocyanide found also in insects can cause neurological issues, cardiorespiratory problems, even thyroid disorders. Bugs can also contain high levels of oxalates, which can lead to things like kidney stone and many other problems. Many people with shellfish allergies can have severe cross-reactivities with insect proteins, sometimes leading to life-threatening anaphylactic reactions. Bugs can also concentrate high levels of pesticides that they may be exposed to, either through food or otherwise, to include things like chlorinated organophosphates.
Growing up, many of us learned that a calorie is a unit of energy. If you eat something that's 100 calories, what it's actually describing is the amount of energy your body will receive from eating it, because everything is comprised of energy. You, me, the bugs, everything. If something has energy, it also holds a vibration. This is the back and forth motion of particles. In 1986, a long time ago, Dr. Valerie Hunt, a scientist at UCLA, measured the vibrations in people and foods, and she proved her findings in this laboratory video. Here you can see the human energy field radiating out from the body as a man enjoys time with his dog. Now, look how the energy field changes with this person eating junk food. The vibrations are low in frequency, which means they are dead and unable to produce life. Insects eat all sorts of things. Some eat plants, yes, but others are scavengers or decomposers. You know, dead stuff. If they're not eating high vibrational foods, then eating them is not going to give you the energy you want, no matter how many bugs you eat. There's the ick factor. There's very little nutritional value. There's a lot of bad things in bugs, and they can also have a very low vibration. So why are we even having this conversation? Because eating bugs is linked to super controversial issues, such as climate change and overpopulation. In February of 2022, this article appeared on the website of the World Economic Forum, a self-described think tank of government and corporate elites who collectively determine how they want you to think. It's called 5 Reasons Why Eating Insects Could Reduce Climate Change. Regardless of how you feel about climate issues or non-issues on our planet, we should all be very skeptical when an influential power group like the World Economic Forum uses fear-based tactics like the world is ending to convince you to do anything, like eat bugs, when real science from real doctors tells a completely different story. If you search for information online about the World Economic Forum and insect eating, you will no doubt find a lot of content featuring Klaus Schwab, the president of the World Economic Forum, wanting you to eat the bugs. Here's a fun fact. He never actually said that. at least not publicly. But the World Economic Forum has released several videos discouraging people from eating livestock meat and promoting their strange infatuation with insects.
Located in California's beautiful natural landscape, the Auburn Recreation Area offers an idyllic setting for outdoor enthusiasts. UNN Field Messenger Chris highlights the area's attractions and activities.
Happy Labor Day, everyone. This is Chris, Field Messenger for United Network News. It's been a little bit since I've been on here, but I just wanted to share what's happening for people relaxing in the area outside of Auburn, California. That is the Foresthill Bridge behind me there. That's a 730-foot bridge down to the river you see here. That was the tallest bridge in California. It was built in the early 70s so that they could make this whole valley just like Folsom Lake down the river a short ways so that they could dam it. What they never did, this has been used as a limestone quarry. There's other bridges. The No Hands Bridge back behind me. Lots of things to do on this river. You can float it, you can, but you got to be careful. There was 4 drownings this year. There's lots of hiking trails everywhere, mountain biking. I live just up the hill. I actually just hiked down the hill for this to go for a swim down on the river. We've had bear in our backyard in the pool. We've also had, unfortunately, in our neighbor's yard, there was a mountain lion that came and unfortunately got one of the chickens next door. But if you're ever in the Auburn area, I do suggest coming to the Auburn Recreation Area. There's lots of canyon roads to drive that are curvy and fun if you like to do that. And hope you're getting out, connecting with nature, and having an amazing day. This is Chris for United Network News.
Are you ready to change the world? Take the next step and join our weekly Field Messenger meetings. Learn more at unitednetwork.earth. I am United Network News, and so are you.